What's going on, everybody? It is Cam here with Easy Work Acres, and today we're going to go over why all these articles on the internet and all these videos you're seeing everywhere are full of crap when it comes to chickens and them being cost effective or unsafe for you, or any other thing that they can come up with to tell you that chickens are not something you should have at your own home. So we're going to actually be crunching some numbers here. The cost of actually buying chickens, the cost of setting up a coop, the cost of feeding them, and all of that stuff, and how that is going to come into play versus actually having to buy them at the grocery store, and whether or not it is more expensive, the same, or less expensive raising your own chickens and being able to sustain food for your family on a regular basis and never having to worry about an egg shortage or anything else related to that around eggs. And obviously there's other ways you can do that by gardening and stuff like that, but today we're going to focus on chickens specifically. All right, so you're getting into hens. The first thing you're going to need is some hens, and that's going to be your first initial cost. So hens usually run anywhere between $10 to $20 for a hen that is already in laying age. So that means 20 weeks or older, and between 10 to 20 is $15, and that's what I spent on my first hen. So I got 6 hens right out the gate, and I think for most people that are going to be doing this in a backyard operation, 6 hens seems to be a good number for most people to start with, or even just stick with. That's going to cost you about $90 for your first 6 hens. So $90 is going to be your first initial expense. Your next initial expense, or you can get really fancy and big, but your coop is going to cost you some money, but it could cost you almost no money at all. It all depends on how fancy you want to get with your coop. And especially for one that is going to be for around 6 hens or less, you could probably make a coop for less than $100. And I'm pretty sure the first coop I ever made only cost me about $50. Hens don't need anything fancy. We have this like $250 like greenhouse that we're housing our hens in, but I have like 50 chickens. For somebody that has 6, you're talking about $50 or less you could probably be doing, but we'll go ahead and knock that up to 100 because you want to get a little fancy with your chickens or something. But essentially, you just need something that can keep predators out and give them a couple nesting boxes to lay some eggs and get themselves out of the weather when they need to get out of the weather. But that could be a very small structure. So let's talk about feed. This is a 50-pound bag of chicken feed. It's non-GMO, it's good quality stuff from my local feed mill. And if you don't have a local feed mill nearby because maybe you're in a more urban area, there's lots of places that have chicken feed, including some pet stores, as well as Tractor Supplies and more commercial style places like that. So you can get feed anywhere, but this was $16 a bag. So what does that tell me as far as cost? Well, an average adult chicken eats about 1.5 pounds of feed per week. So with your 6 hens, that's talking about 9 pounds of feed per week, so 36 pounds per month. So that is less than the bag of feed that you're actually getting, a 50-pound bag. So you're talking about less than $16 per month to feed your chickens. So let's break that down even further. We're talking about your chickens, your 6 chickens are eating less than that 50-pound bag per month. So they're eating 36 pounds per month. So by the end of the year, that only rounds out to be about 8.5 to 9 bags of feed you're having to buy per year. So you're talking about $144 per year to feed your chickens. And it could be even cheaper than that, honestly, if you were feeding your chickens a little bit of table scraps here and there and whatever they could be foraging out on the lawn. So let's get into that total cost now. So we're talking about your 6 hens would cost you $90. We're talking about your $100 chicken coop because you're super fancy. And we're talking about your year's worth of feed, which costs you about $144 for the whole year. So that brings us to a grand total of $334 is what that's going to run you. So $334 for your first year startup getting your chickens. So if you didn't know, hens on the low end, I would say the low end, because in my experience so far, our chickens always lay above 50% production rate, which means more than half the flock lays eggs on a daily basis. Usually it's only here and there that a chicken doesn't lay an egg. But like I said, we're going to start at 50%, 3 eggs. 3 eggs you're getting from your 6 chicken flock per day. So if you're getting 3 eggs per day, that means 21 eggs that you are getting per week. And then that means 84 eggs per month, which means 1,008 eggs per year. That's a lot of daggone eggs. Now, if my calculations are correct, that 1,008 eggs means that you're getting 84 dozen eggs per year. And the average cost of eggs for the crappy ones are about $4 per dozen. So if you're talking about $4 per dozen with 84 dozen eggs that you are getting per year, that rounds out to be $336 worth of eggs that you are getting, which means that you are in the positive $2 by the end of your first year raising hens. But there's more. not only is this going to save you $2 in your first year, but obviously you're not going to have to buy all these startup costs afterward. And then also there's ways that you can continue getting more chickens after every couple of years when their production slows down. So number one is that you get better quality eggs doing it this way. Just flat out, I don't care who you are. If you talk to anybody that raises their own eggs, they're always better than what you're going to get at a grocery store. Even if you are buying the higher quality eggs at your grocery store, farm raised at home, fresh, you're eating them within a week of them actually being laid is always going to taste better. They're always going to be better quality. And especially when you're talking about these chickens that are raised in like chicken factories. And whenever you crack one open, you'll see that the texture and density is there. The color is better. They bake better with your baking goods. They're just better quality eggs. Two, the self-sustainability alone makes this worth it because you have a self-sustainable source of protein and nutrition for your family regardless of what is going on in the world, like an egg shortage or a shortage of this or that. So you don't have to stress so much about those things because you're able to self-sustain right here in your own home. All right, so at this point, we have shown you that this is cost-effective and it can be a really good self-sustainable thing for you and your family. Now, the problem is there's other concerns that everybody worries about, and that is okay because you should look into this completely, but I think this is totally something that anyone can do. So one of the main concerns is there this huge learning curve with trying to get chickens down? And yes, there will be a learning curve, but it's definitely going to be something that you can handle, especially in a small backyard operation with 6 chickens or so. It's not anything that any adult can't handle. So you'll have to figure out, your setup and what you like and what you prefer to meet your needs, whether you want your chickens to free range or you want to keep them in a coop that you're able to move around or whatever it is that you want to do. What's up, Sammy boy? Basically, all of these things can be made adjustable to your specific situation. Now, another concern, is this a huge time investment? It can be at first, and only because of that learning curve I'm talking about, just simply trying to figure out the setup that you prefer. But once you get your setup down and the way you like it, you can set it up to where they are self-fed on a regular basis and self-watered to where it's very minimal and non-time consuming to where you don't have to go out every single day to feed and water it, and you're just going out to collect eggs and maybe feed and water them once a week or something like that. It all depends on the setup that you do, but it is something that you can figure out and make it to where it is not a huge time commitment to you on a daily basis. It's a terrible rooster crow, but chickens are loud. A lot of people are concerned that chickens are loud. And when you take it for what it is, they can be at certain points throughout the day, but most of the time not. Now, if you have a rooster, yes, you're going to be hearing that rooster crow in the morning, and he does it sometimes throughout the day. We have 2 or 3 roosters. We have 3 roosters in here, and they can get kind of loud sometimes. They're out here hollering and stuff like that, but we're on a farm, so we're not worried about it. But for your backyard flock and you only having hens, you're not going to be hearing them a whole lot. Like most of the time I've been out here doing this video, you've hardly heard these birds at all. And that is because hens don't make a whole lot of noise unless there is a predator after them or if maybe they're laying. A lot of times chickens can be a little loud while they're laying. Obviously, they're pushing an egg out. I'd probably be loud too. But otherwise, they're pretty quiet, and they just mainly just roam around foraging and doing stuff like that and not really making a whole lot of noise throughout the day. But what about the winter months? Don't they stop laying in the winter? Not completely. So for the most part, actually, our chickens have been laying pretty steadily through the winter, at least enough where we're able to get plenty of eggs and still be able to sell some. Because like I said, we have 50. In a backyard flock of like 6 chickens or so, you can still count on getting probably at least 1 to 2 eggs a day during the winter time. And a lot of that has actually more to do with the light cycle. So they have to have at least 14 hours of light on a daily basis to have a good amount of production. Now, you can artificially do this just by simply putting a light in their coop to turn on at a certain time so that they will continue laying all winter long at maximum production. We typically give our hens a break for at least a month or 2 before we add any artificial light or anything like that if we're trying to up our sales so that obviously we can keep expanding our operation. But for the most part, they still continue laying even with less light and it being cold outside and stuff like that. These are hardy animals that take really good care of themselves for the most part. And essentially, as long as you feed and water them, they'll keep laying for you. So don't stress it if the production drops a little bit in the later months. You can add in artificial light if necessary if you wanted to maximize your production. Another big concern people have is they read that chickens only lay for like 2 years or something like that. And that is untrue. So chickens can actually lay at a pretty high production rate for up to 3 years, where they're laying at a pretty high production rate. And it can actually be much longer in small backyard flocks where chickens are kept happy and healthy. They lay based on stress level. So if your chickens are stressed out all the time, like ones that are in those chicken factories, then yes, they're only going to lay about 2 years before their egg production is going to drastically fall off, because they haven't been given good nutrition. They've had a very stressful lifestyle, so they age a lot faster stress level wise. So in a healthy backyard situation, you could actually get 3+ years out of your chickens laying. And even when production slows down, it doesn't come to an immediate halt. It slowly drops down. And then once they drop down, by this time, you're several years in, you're well in the positive on the cost effectiveness of it, and you can get some new hens if you needed to. And what do you do with those chickens whenever they stop laying altogether? There's several different options. Option number one, just keep them. A lot of times people find that chickens are great pets, especially when they come accustomed to them and they like having them around. You might have a favorite hen or two that you like to keep around, and they're really good for brooding, and they're really good for teaching your other new young hens on how to watch out for predators and things like that. Like that, they will literally teach your other hens how to behave in your backyard after you've been training them for the last 3 or 4 years on how to act in your backyard. Number two, like I said, is the brooding. So they can brood new hens. So if you have eggs and you say you do have a rooster and you're incubating eggs, that hen will brood those eggs for you and raise those chicks for you. And then lastly, of course, if you came down to it, you can eat it. You can eat the hens. Just because their egg production stops doesn't mean that they're sick or anything like that. It's still a healthy chicken that can be used for meat to feed your family. So thus, again, just adding back into that self-sustainability. And probably the most common question we get, are farm fresh eggs safe to eat? And the answer is absolutely. Especially here in the US, it's pretty common that people believe that farm fresh eggs are extremely unsafe for you to be eating, but in reality, they're not any less risk or not any more risk than it would be to get one from the grocery store, for the sake that as long as you're keeping a clean coop to where you're not having these like heavily debris eggs, or even if you do have eggs that have quite a bit of debris on them, they can be washed off the same way that you would get eggs at a grocery store. Those eggs are washed or disinfected, and you can do the same thing with yours, wash them off. And if you're not eating raw eggs or licking the outer eggshell, then you're probably not going to have much risk anyways, because when you cook the egg, you're going to be cooking out any possible bacteria, which is why we cook foods in the first place, whether it be eggs, steak, chicken, or whatever else you're cooking. The reason for cooking is not just to make it taste better, but also because it kills off any bacteria. So your risk of getting some kind of sickness from eating fresh eggs are almost next to none. The rarity is very, very high on this. Farm fresh eggs are good for you. Eat them. They're safe. You raised them in your backyard. You know where they came from. You don't have to worry about anything happening in between your backyard to in your house. Hopefully, this was helpful for you. And if you like videos like this, then please like and subscribe to our channel and get yourself some chickens, because they're going to be great to have in your backyard. Self-sustainability, it's cost effective, it's delicious. Get yourself some chickens. Like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching.